first African-American to make the hot seat on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
Congratulations, my man.
Now, the doctor who made TV history and his proud parents.
He's a very bright kid, obviously.
Pierce 007 Brosnan breaks his silence about the cliff plunge accident that sent his son to the hospital.
It happened here in Malibu, California, when the truck Brosnan's son was riding in plunged 100 feet over this embankment.
The James Bond star and the ordeal no parent wants to go through. Her lover was a doctor. He's accused of attacking her and trying to kill her unborn child. Now she finds out if the fetus will survive. Are these dance moves way too sexy for girls as young as 7? See what they're trying to stop the dancing girls from doing. Now, Inside Edition with Deborah Norville.
Hi, everybody, and thanks for joining us. Actor Pierce Brosnan is one very thankful father today after an auto accident that could have killed his 16-year-old son, Sean. Stacey Galandi joins us now with the very latest. Stacey?
Deborah, actor Pierce Brosnan is giving thanks to God and to the people who saved his son Sean's life after a terrible accident left him seriously injured. The truck he was riding in plunged more than 100 feet down this embankment here in Malibu, California.
He sustained a fractured pelvis, a fractured disc in his back, and a ruptured bladder.
Police say this mangled pickup truck tells the story of a privileged movie star offspring, alcohol, and a late-night party.
When the vehicle was brought up, the officers told me that they smelled a strong odor of alcohol coming from the vehicle.
16-year-old Sean Brosnan is the son of Pierce and actress Cassandra Harris. She died of cancer in 1991. Sean, seen here with his father and the movie star's fiancée, Keely Shea Smith, was the most seriously hurt of the 6 people in the truck.
All of the passengers were ejected from the vehicle, and we suspect that it was because they were not wearing their seatbelts.
The driver, 19-year-old James Hall, was charged with felony drunken driving and released on $50,000 bail. Police say Brosnan rushed to Sean's side shortly after the accident.
He apparently was at the scene, and when Sean was airlifted, he accompanied his son in a helicopter ride to the hospital.
While Sean recovers at UCLA Medical Center, his father released this statement. My family and I give gratitude to God and to many extraordinary men and women that my son will have a full recovery. He will have a full life as a result of their skill and nurturing, their deep compassion and caring. Thanks a million.
Sean Brosnan is expected to go home later this week, and another celebrity's had some traffic problems, though of a more legal variety. We'll tell you who that is a bit later on in the broadcast. And if you're a regular viewer of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, you know that it's mostly been white guys who get in the hot seat. So much so that even Regis Philbin has complained about it. Well, now finally a person of color made it to the hot seat, which Stacey Sweet tells us really was hot.
Stephen Maurice Clark was in the hot seat on Sunday's Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, not just because he was going for the jackpot.
He got it right, 32,000.
Clark's appearance marked a milestone because out of the 192 contestants that have appeared opposite Regis, Clark, a 40-year-old Harvard-educated surgeon from Aiken, South Carolina, was the very first African-American.
The answer is C, Joan Rivers. Yes, that's what Joan says. Can we talk?
Stephen's father, Rudolph, who was in the audience, says his son didn't feel any extra pressure because of his race.
I don't think that there was any additional pressure on him because of his African-American heritage, because he has a positive feeling about himself.
I'm sorry it was Finland.
Clark took home $32,000 after missing a $250,000 question about hockey in the 1980 Olympics.
Good luck to you. Thank you.
But many say Clark's appearance ended an embarrassing streak for the show. Even though the contestant selection process is random and doesn't ask about gender or race, the show has been getting heat for its lack of women and minorities. Regis even addressed the issue himself on his morning show.
And everybody's got a theory on that. Well, but we're trying. I mean, we'd love to have more women, and I wish you'd all pick up your phones right now.
Women did start appearing, although they still make up only 13% of contestants. And now Clark has broken the race barrier.
He's a very curious, intellectual type person, and he likes trivia.
TV Guide's Annabelle Vered.
Hopefully, Stephen Maurice Clark's appearance on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire will open the door for more diverse contestants.
So So how did Regis handle his first African-American contestant? Well, believe it or not, he's gotten some flack in the press for being politically incorrect when he called Stephen my man.
Congratulations, my man.
It's ridiculous, and I'm sure if people look over the tapes of the show that's been airing since August, they're going to be able to nitpick at any sort of detail about any contestant, regardless of race or gender.
$1 million when we...
Incidentally, Dr. Clark says he decided to try to become a Millionaire contestant when he heard Regis's plea for more minority contestants. And there is encouraging news to report for that New York nurse whose unborn baby, cops say, was put in jeopardy by her angry lover. Craig Rivera with the latest for the woman who fears for her baby's life.
Dr. Stephen Pack appeared dazed and stunned as he walked past a gauntlet of reporters in the Bronx criminal courthouse. Pack is accused of plunging a syringe filled with abortion-inducing drugs into his pregnant lover, Joy Shepis. He's pled not guilty. The attack allegedly occurred in the parking lot of this Bronx, New York hospital where they both worked. Authorities say Dr. Pack shouted, "I'm giving you an abortion."
I'm in shock. I'm scared.
Joy Shepis, a single mom and pediatric nurse, knew all too well the danger her unborn baby was in.
Pray for me, and they can pray for the baby I'm carrying and my family.
But Joy Shepis just got some extraordinary news. Doctors performing an ultrasound picked up the tiny heartbeat from Joy's unborn baby. Few thought the fetus would survive its brush with a drug that nearly always causes a miscarriage. Though Shepis and the baby got new hope, doctors say the life of Joy's unborn baby is still very much touch and go.
Possible deformities are skeletal abnormalities of the head where bones don't form normally, where the brain may not form normally, where bone marrow may be suppressed.
Meanwhile, Pack, a married father of 2, is reportedly under 24-hour psychiatric watch and has another scheduled court hearing next month. And despite the risk of birth defects, Joy Shepis plans on carrying her baby to term with little help from above.
The plan is it's not up to me. It's up to God what happens to my child now.
If convicted, Dr. Pack faces a maximum of 7 years in jail.
Still to come on Inside Edition. It's like The Sopranos, only this story is dead serious. 2 men, one's a mobster, one's a cop, and 1 woman at the center of a bitter saga.
He said he would cut off my fingers and mail them back to my mother.
I admitted to everything I did. Admitted to shooting somebody, admitting to hitting people with a baseball bat. Why wouldn't I admit to this?
Would you let your daughter dance like this?
I don't think we've done anything wrong.
They're as young as 7, and some say this is just too hot for kids.
I'm a big spender.
Plus, the latest celebrity involved in a car crash. Inside Edition with Deborah Norville will be right back.
It's the kind of story you could see portrayed by Al Pacino and Robert De Niro, a real-life story of 2 guys who grew up and went very separate ways. But there was one thing linking them, a woman.
She was just strolling down the beach, and I looked at her and I said, "Hey, good looking. How you doing?"
Vinnie Davis is remembering 1980 and the words of a then macho 19-year-old. Words that would launch a 20-year odyssey of pain, obsession, and near self-destruction.
It was just sort of like a love at first sight.
Vinnie and Diane Pilati fell in love quickly that summer, but Diane had another boyfriend.
Oh, Diane was like my childhood sweetheart. And I was dating her, going out like we were an item. And then I got in a lot of trouble, and I went away.
Richie Sable is the kind of guy who laughs when he talks about the first time he went to jail. He and Diane and Vinnie all grew up in Yonkers, New York, a town where, as some put it, a young man grew up to become a cop, a mobster, or a working stiff at the local power plant. For Richie and his friends, the choice was obvious.
When you're growing up in the streets, like we do, and you see the guys with all the flash and the pizzazz, the nice cars and clothes and everything like that, and, you know, that's the easy way, and you want to be that way.
Richie and Vinnie had few things in common, although both were the sons of cops. Vinnie would also become a policeman, but Richie wanted to be a mobster, a wise guy. But when Diane wrote him in prison about Vinnie, he says he was the perfect gentleman.
She wrote me a letter, saying that she found somebody. I called her up. She told me about it. I said, I wish you all the luck and happiness in the world. I mean, I have no animosity towards this girl.
Vinny says it didn't quite happen that way. He says Richie threatened Diane, and here he quotes Diane describing her conversation with Richie.
He said he would cut off my fingers and mail them back to my mother. He would throw acid on my face to make me so ugly that no one would ever want me again.
Never happened. Untrue. Untrue.
Vinny claims that Richie stalked him and Diane from that first summer they fell in love through their marriage in 1983, and even after Vinny became a New York City transit cop in 1985. Richie denies it all, like that time shortly before the wedding. Richie had been released from jail, and Vinny says Richie kidnapped Diane.
It was not true. I never kidnapped her. I never brought a shotgun to her house. Never held her hostage for 2 hours. Never happened.
There are no official records of any of Vinny's accusations. He and Diane never leveled charges against Richie because, says Vinny, Richie was too dangerous to mess with, even though Vinny was a cop. Richie, who's testified in court about his life of crime, says all of Vinny's charges are ludicrous.
My life's an open book, okay? I admitted to shooting somebody. I admitted to hitting people with a baseball bat, stabbing somebody. I admit to everything. Why wouldn't I admit to this? Why wouldn't I admit to this?
Vinny says the threats, though intermittent, continued to haunt the young couple as they tried to get on with their lives. Vinny not only became a cop, but a hero cop, awarded scores of certificates, ribbons, and medals throughout his career. But there was trouble in his marriage to Diane, and things got even worse when Richie cooked up a new scheme to get out of another jail term. He decided to become what the wise guys call a rat.
Once you're a rat, you're a rat, and it's a whole nother ball game. So when you become a rat and decide to join the other team, you have to come clean with everything.
Coming clean meant turning against the mob. Richie went to work for the feds as a double agent, burrowing deep inside New Jersey's Lucchese crime family. Meanwhile, Vinny's life was headed downhill. Diane had left him, and he was drinking heavily. And when he heard that Richie was free again, he sank deeper into booze and depression.
It was January 25th. One of Richie's cohorts came in and begins to taunt me. You said that Sable's gone away for 20 years, no one can keep him away, and he's going to kill you for what you did to him.
Drunk and angry, Vinny hunted down one of Richie's mobster friends. It was the biggest mistake of his life.
I says, this guy ratted on somebody, and he's probably ratting on you. He's probably working for the feds, and thus the story begins.
Vinny says he didn't know that Richie really was, in fact, working for the feds. But when prosecutors heard what Vinny said, they blamed him for ruining an undercover operation and charged him with witness tampering, obstruction of justice, and conspiracy. And incredibly, with Richie free, living the life of a government-sanctioned gangster, Vinny was thrown off the police force and sent to jail. He served 16 months in prison before a judge threw out his conviction. A second trial ended with a hung jury, and just earlier this month, a third jury found Vinny not guilty of the remaining charges against him.
I'm really looking forward to saving up a few dollars and taking a vacation. I'm going to Disneyland.
He's celebrating his freedom now, but Vinny Davis describes himself as a ruined man, and he blames Richie Sable for all of it.
I lost 16 months of my life because of this. I lost my job. I lost my pension. I lost my wife. Did Richie win? He won. He's ruthless. He's heartless. You think he cares that my life got destroyed by this? He's laughing at the government right now. He's laughing at me.
Richie is also out of jail now, and he says he's staying out of trouble. He'd like to work for the feds again, but so far, no offers. As for his feelings about Vinny, he says, forget about it.
I would like this to pass and end. I mean, there's no reason for it. I mean, the kid got lucky. He should thank his lucky stars and get on with his life, and wish him all the luck and happiness in the world, you know what I mean?
Incredibly, Richie Sable and Vinny Davis have never met face to face.
Still ahead on Inside Edition. Are these dance moves way too sexy for girls as young as 7?
I don't think we've done anything wrong.
See what they're trying to stop the dancing girls from doing.
Hey, big spender!
Production assistance for Inside Edition provided by
Mylanta Supreme soothes away my heartburn. I love this relief. I love feeling this sensation. My doctor said Mylanta.
Stay tuned. There's more Inside Edition to come.
Just about any parent you talk to these days will tell you kids grow up too fast. And now some people are complaining about a competition to encourage kids to dance has really encouraged kids to move like adults. Steve Noble on what all the fuss is about.
The judges love the show.
Good looking, so refined.
The judges may have loved this winning dance performance, but some people feel their toes have been stepped on.
It was not appropriate and was offensive to our audience.
They're talking about a performance by this Southern California dance troupe.
And all that jazz.
The music's from Chicago, the moves by legendary Broadway choreographer Bob Fosse. Critics say it might belong on Broadway, but not in a performance by 7 to 18-year-olds. Look at this sequence from Fosse's Sweet Charity, where the girls are hardly Girl Scouts. Pat Rhodes is the national director of STARS, a dance organization which sponsored the competition.
It's adult material. It's not appropriate for a family audience or for junior dance participants.
The controversy started after the South Bay Sunray Stars danced at this regional competition in April. Dee DeFilippo choreographed their routine.
And the kids were wonderful.
The troupe received near-perfect scores and had their eyes on the national competition. And then, a few days later, their victory soured when some parents of other dancers kicked about these routines being too racy. Organizers of the national competition asked the group to eliminate certain pelvic thrusts, racy lyrics, and bare midriffs before heading to the next level.
The complaint was that it isn't appropriate for this age of kids to be doing this kind of suggestive movements.
The troupe refused to change and voted to withdraw from the competition in protest. The dancers say it's a matter of principle.
I don't think we should have to change anything that we've done because I don't think we've done anything wrong.
But what do you say to people who say that, that is kind of racy and maybe that's something that the kids shouldn't be doing?
Have they watched MTV lately?
True, there's racy stuff on MTV, but they're usually a little older.
It wasn't my 7-year-olds doing, the racier song.
Each age group has their own featured part. There isn't any moves that I feel that are inappropriate.
Jan Ray is the owner of the Dance Factory where the girls practice. She thinks the complaints are a textbook case of sour grapes.
When you do win, I think you're a target.
A moving target, to say the least. And now a new twist, as these dancers are seeking a different contest where they can strut their stuff and all that jazz.
It's time to put all this silliness away and get on with doing what we do best.
We'll take a break, but when we come back, another celebrity's in court over traffic problems. Who is it? Find out after this.
On today's Inside Track. Earlier in the broadcast, we told you that Stephen Maurice Clark has become the first African-American to take the hot seat on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. Since its debut last year, do you know how many episodes of the hit show have aired? The answer when we return. Production assistance for Inside Edition provided by...
Oh, no, not Hot Pockets. All that meat and real cheese. Their favorite. Ay, caramba, we'll be here forever.
Hot Pockets, good food, made easy.
Stay tuned. There's more Inside Edition to come. So, how many episodes of Millionaire have there been?
Let's play.
Since its debut in August of last year, Regis has hosted 84 episodes of the top-rated quiz show and has given away almost $16 million.
So which celebrity's in court over traffic problems? We'll tell you right after this.
Go inside On the next Inside Edition, be careful how you photograph your children. If they're naked, you could go to jail. A picture of her 8-year-old daughter in the bathtub almost cost her 16 years.
I would like to tell you about those pictures.
Plus, a car with 2 women and 2 babies inside shoved in front of a freight train.
The second car pushed her car into the tracks.
You saw that? What cops say one man's fury took away. Watch the next Inside Edition.
And finally today, joining the ranks of leading ladies with traffic problems, Gwyneth Paltrow. Stacey Galandi has details.
She won an Oscar for acting, but Gwyneth Paltrow is not winning any prizes for her driving. According to this lawsuit, the 28-year-old actress was involved in a car accident last April at this intersection in West Hollywood.
Their car was rear-ended by Gwyneth Paltrow. And then, after that, they hit another car in front of them.
James Earl, the attorney representing the brother and sister who he says were driving this car, says they are seeking $50,000 to cover medical expenses. So far, no comment from Gwyneth Paltrow's publicist.
And I won't comment either. That's Inside Edition for today. I'm Deborah Norville. Thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow from Los Angeles.